No intro this time. The Aquitania was a British ocean liner which served the Cunard line from 1914 to 1950.
Wow.
She was specifically designed to serve the epic Southampton to New York route. Yeah, I think that's enough of those general facts. Okay, just one more. She was the last ship with the classic 4-funnel design. Okay, now that we're done with that, time to do the rest of the video in unnecessary chapters. The RMS Aquitania was the brainchild of Leonard Pesquet and was built by John Brown and Company in Clydebank in Scotland. Although a Cunard ship, she was designed to abide by British Admiralty regulations that in the event of a war, she could be converted for war service. After being launched in April 1913, she was fitted out over the course of 13 months. After successfully completing her sea trials, she went on to not sink during her maiden voyage like an idiot and was greeted by a lot of press and fanfare when she reached New York. Yeah, well, that's a fucking lie. Just after, the SS Vaterland became the largest ship in the world, and more importantly, the Empress of Ireland sank with over 1,000 people drowning. Imagine being that unlucky. I don't mean the people on the Empress of Ireland, that was not what I meant, so I'm sorry about that. Also, only a third of the available tickets were sold on the maiden voyage. At least she had a feel what it was to sail before World War I, because that's what happened just a month later, thus starting a new chapter in her career. Cunard guessed correctly by agreeing to a deal with the Admiralty in exchange for a quick conversion time, cause that was only the first time Aquitania was converted for war purposes. Her first run was as a merchant cruiser. Now, merchant cruisers weren't really tested out beforehand, so the Admiralty discovered the hard way that those things kinda fucking suck. After that, Aquitania collided with a ship called Canadian and was then shamefully given back to Cunard. After the Navy got their shit together, they figured out that passenger ships are great for transporting a lot of people.
Who would that for?
It transported around 30,000 people to the Dardanelles campaign, after which they figured they could strike gold twice and converted her one more time, this time to a hospital ship. Guys, stop please, it's not your damn socks. After Britannic sank, Aquitania was once again turned into a hospital ship, Jesus Christ, before she finally deserved some rest and was laid up in the Solent for the rest of the war. Just kidding, she was once again called to transport troops from North America to Britain. To add to the laundry list of things she did in World War I, she collided with the USS Shaw and tore its fucking bow off. After the war, Aquitania was so happy with her being dismissed from war duties that she went ahead and sank a cargo ship off the coast of New York.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell.
She at least rescued the ship's crew, which itself was refloated later. I'm glad we're done with wars. Apparently, she ran something called an austerity service, which I can't be bothered to look up, but sounds extravagant.
Oh dear, what is it? I've spontaneously combusted.
More notably, however, the Aquitania was converted to run on oil instead of inferior coal, thus making her more efficient and cost-effective. Also, another wheelhouse was built because some pansies complained that they couldn't see enough because of the bow. After all that fitting out time, she arguably began her golden age. Her first trip back from war, she carried 2,433 passengers. Clearly, this was the maiden voyage Cunard was dreaming about, wasn't it, lads?
Tally-ho, lad!
For some time in 1921, she was the only big Cunard ship in service, which caused her to have an insane year, carrying over 60,000 people, which is 5,999 people more than have seen this channel. After that brief time, she infamously became part of Cunard's Big Three, which consisted of herself, Mauretania, and the acquisitioned Imperator turned Berengaria. That wouldn't be the last time German engineering would hit the front covers, however.
Hans, did you get the Panzerfaust?
9. I brought the Panzer Division.
She benefited from prohibition in the US by allowing the selling and consumption of alcohol, which proved what side of the Atlantic was superior. Obviously, Aquitania was hit hard with the stock market crash, but this is a mostly topic for another time. In 1935, she ran aground in the Solent, but after the next high tide, she was refloated. Good news is we got these cool photos now. She sailed up until 1939, which... another war broke out. She was in New York when the war broke out, so she waited until November to return to Southampton and was thus requisitioned for the actual 100th time.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
At least this time the Admiralty was like, hang on guys, now how about this time we actually use these ships for what they were designed for? Wow, that's a groundbreaking idea! Because of her speed, she acquired the title of quote-unquote monster, which placed her among absolute legends like the Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, New Amsterdam, Mauritania II, and Ile-de-France.
With a chance to win the World Cup for Argentina. And up he comes right-footed and scores!
I'm surprised the public allowed calling their precious ships of high prestige monsters. Aquitania was actually meant to be replaced by Queen Elizabeth, but since she was only finished in 1940 and the war started in 1939, she got some more years left in her. She initially transported troops to Scotland in convoy TC-1, full of a bunch of ships that I can't be bothered to read out.
Best I could do is maybe a $19 Fortnite card.
She changed convoys a few times and traveled with other big and fast ships at the time. In 1941, Aquitania deserved a nice recoloring into Battleship Grey, which doesn't look too bad on her. She did some stuff in Singapore, all very important, but boring for this video, but after the US got into the war, she would receive a new exciting enemy.
Yes, you're ready, 'cause I'm waiting for you. It's gonna be so exciting.
Aquitania did some trips to Port Moresby that the Japanese were planning to invade after they conquered half of fucking Asia in like 2 weeks.
Take my gun, gonna see me. Gonna drive along till I get you.
She spent roughly a year there before she was called back to the UK to transport more troops.
I'm gonna step on the gas. And be alone. Be so quick as a
She did these impressive UK, US, India voyages that took her all over the world, which was really nice. Maybe the reason why she was traveling the world is kinda bad, but it's nice to see a ship in other places. In 1944, the Allies depended heavily on the so-called monsters to transport large amount of troops to prepare for the invasion of Europe quickly. She concluded her career with the end of the war. All put together, Aquitania traveled over 500,000 miles and transported more than 400,000 troops. An entire army could be forwarded from her amount of troop transports. She was returned to Dan Cunard White Star in 1948 and was chartered to transport war brides and children to Canada. But alas, things don't last forever, and she was pulled out of service in December 1949, mainly because her Board of Trade certification had expired and it would have been too expensive to refit her with the newest safety features. One rumor was made that a piano had fallen through her deck, but this was quickly proven to be false. But alas, in 1950, the Aquitania was sent to her final resting place at Forest Lane in her native Scotland, where she was scrapped in roughly a year. It's always a sad sight to see such a magnificent beast rot away after years of faithful service, but the impact and millions of memories she made had made her worth to so many people.
And just like that, it's gone like an angel's kiss.